Our American planes of the 8th Air Force bombed and fought off opposition in the air. They stopped their way into Germany, and they stopped their way out.
We're here to honor the individuals that actually went over there in Europe and all of the other places for the 8th Air Force to fight against the Nazism and all the other bad times that we were having then. And this museum was built just to commemorate the individuals. This is just a centerpiece of it because this is part of the 8th Air Force. There was like 10 airplanes, but this was one of the masters of the 8th Air Force, this and the B-24, which is right next to us.
The history of the airplane was the entire 8th Air Force. It was basically the queen of the fleet. And there's 12,731 that were made, and there's only 44 left in the world. Only 44 airframes left. And one of the stipulations here was that this is going to be the history of the 8th Air Force. And the B-17 was the workhorse of the 8th Air Force. So they wanted one here, and so they looked and looked and looked, and they found one at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., and this came out of Washington, D.C. It was up there for like 25 years, undercover, but it was outside. And they decided that, okay, this is the one that we wanted to put together.
I used to lay on my back years ago, back in the early 40s, and watch these airplanes fly overhead with young crews who had never been in battle before, who had no idea what they were getting into, but they were young people and indestructible. And I had no idea until I came and worked on this airplane just how, just what it was they were getting into and the experiences that they're going to bring home with them if they come home.
When I joined the Air Corps, I was 18. At that time, you had to have 2 years of college to become an officer in the Army Air Corps. We weren't the Air Force then, we were in the Army. I decided the only way I was going to get it, I joined my buddy and became his roommate at a military school at Virginia Tech. And it was all a military school. And I was there about a semester and a half, and the Air Force came around, Air Corps, and they said, hey, we have a new rule. We send you to a college training detachment for 2.5 months. That makes up for your lack of 2 years of college, so you can enlist now. So I did.
There were 12,721 of these airplanes manufactured for the war. They all went to the mighty 8th Air Force, and over 4,500 were shot down in combat. That leaves an awful lot that didn't get shot down in combat, and they were lost to either accidents during training or mid-air collisions or some other non-combat type of accident that took place.
18 went out to attack the target. How many have returned? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 8 returned.
Well, the manufacturing process back then was mass.
The manufacturing was all done by hand. There were no machines that did it for you, very few machines. They had lifts mount the wings and engines and stuff like that, but all the rest of it was done by hand. Most of it, a good part of it, was done by women because the men were at war.
We declared war on Japan, then Germany declared war on us 2 days later. FDR had a meeting with his cabinet. He had just declared war on the two biggest military operations in the world, Japan and Germany. And he said to his cabinet, we only have 58 airplanes that can fly. And then he said, we need 50,000 bombers just to get rid of Germany.
Everywhere there are plants and installations that contribute directly or indirectly to the making of German aircraft. Industrial bastions which must first be ripped apart before the enemy's armies can be destroyed.
What we want to do with this aircraft is restore it to 100% operational ability, to where if we flip a switch, that light will come on. We flip a switch, that part will work. We want it to be 100% operational. There's some things that we can't do because we can't get the parts. They're 70 years old, they've already been destroyed. So we sit down and try to say, okay, we're only going to take and build this part to this point. We can make this box, but we can't hook it up because we don't have the additional part. But it will be there looking like it's an operational part. So how do we sit there and divide it up? We have to do a chain, I guess, and say, okay, we're going to start here and go here and make it work.
Most of the challenges are finding the parts and trying to find the proper parts intact, and you have to either manufacture them or actually do a lot of research to actually find somebody that's got one of these on the shelf.
We can find a lot of parts, surprisingly, on eBay, but people have these in their closets or in their basements, and they say, hey, my father has this, what do you want to do with it? I'll donate it to you.
Most of the airplane structure was intact, but the militarization, the weapons and the radios and the oxygen were all missing from the airplane. So we have to either try to find those parts or try to manufacture them.
Gulfstream is our neighbor. And Gulfstream have guys that can do anything to build an airplane, right? And when they even took things over, and when you're walking out, you'll see a picture of the tail section. They found it and they copied it and made it exactly like it was. Everything in there is brand new. It took 6 years and 120 guys and gals using their skills to put this thing back together. Everything's perfect. The engines, everything works. The turrets, the bomb bay doors, the cockpit, the radio room, just like it was.
It's amazing what they did back in the early 30s when this airplane was developed, how much intact that technology is still there. The aircraft is aluminum, and it's a rigid structure with the aluminum stiffeners around it, with the aluminum on the outside and riveted. All aluminum inside, very little insulation, very limited heat, and just try to imagine an aluminum airplane at 30,000 feet, at 50, 60 below zero. That aluminum is really, really cold.
We had to get to 125 miles an hour to get off the ground. The next problem was finding the guy you're supposed to fly on. So you'd have to go up maybe 13, 15,000 feet, break out of the clouds, and there's all these B-24s circling around, or B-17s. When the flares are shot, we know that's the color for the day, that's where I have to be. And if there's 2,000 airplanes up there, how many? All I worry about is that guy I'm flying on. And I get to close to him as I can.
Every individual that we're building this aircraft for was important because the component and the part that they were using was as a team. This airplane flew as a team. There were 10 people on it, and they all operated individually just to make sure this airplane gets from point A to point B and does its job. So all components are important.
Started out, we had 10-man crew, pilot, co-pilot, bombardier, navigator, all officers, okay? The rest of the guys were all sergeants, radio operator, engineer, the flight engineer, waist gunner, two of them, one on each side, Sperry ball gunner, the thing hanging down, very bad job, very bad. And tail gunner, pretty bad job.
The significance is the history of the aircraft and reading the books and knowing that these individuals actually took these aircraft and flew them to a war, and a lot of them did not return.
It puts you in your place, you know, when you realize that as young kids, that they volunteered to risk their lives and many to give their lives humbly to talk to these people.
I think the legacy that we need to tell everybody is remember your history. You can go to all museums, and there's always people there that want to pass that information on to other individuals.
I wouldn't trade it for anything, but I wouldn't want to do it again. I think that, you know, you didn't have a great life expectancy. You're getting shot at. That's not good. I still love the guys that I was with. I mean, you get pretty close when you're putting your life on the line. My air base, the 446 Bomb Group, was merely about a 10-minute flight to the White Cliffs at Dover. But if we had a good day and nobody got hurt or injured, which was rare, we'd come down in low over the English Channel. We could see from about 2 miles out, I could see the White Cliffs at Dover. And I'd pull up, get in a traffic pattern, and land. We're home, you know? And the great song then was White Cliffs at Dover by Vera Lynch. And she sang, "There'll be bluebirds over the White Cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There'll be love and laughter and peace ever after tomorrow when the world is free. The shepherd will tend his sheep. The valley will bloom again. And Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the White Cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see." We're home, guys. There'll be bluebirds over the White Cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There'll be love and laughter and peace ever after tomorrow when the world is free. The shepherd will tend his sheep. The valley will bloom again. And Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little